Hello, my dear India. Today I stand before you on a day of rare personal and national significance. This is the day our constitution came into force, the day India declared itself a republic. It is also the day I was born. For me, this coincidence is not just symbolic or emotional, it is deeply meaningful. It reminds me that individual lives and national destinies are often intertwined, and that citizenship is not just a legal status but a moral responsibility. On this day, I feel compelled to speak not only as an individual but as a citizen who loves this land, respects its history, and cares deeply about its future. I speak with humility, honesty, and hope. India is more than a country, India is a civilization. We call her by many names. Out of love, we call her Bharat. Out of cultural pride, we call her Hindustan. Out of constitutional identity, we call her India. And beyond all names, we call her our mother. These names reflect not division but affection. They reflect the many layers of identity that coexist within one nation. To understand our present, we must look honestly at our past. Before colonial rule, before partition, and before modern political ideologies, India was a land of coexistence. Difference existed, but they did not automatically turn into hostility. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Jews, and others lived within a shared civilizational space. Cultures mixed, languages evolved, traditions influenced one another. Harmony was not perfect, but it was real. When Islam first came to the Indian subcontinent, Muslims did not arrive as rulers, they arrived as traders, travelers, scholars, and guests. They lived under the protection of existing Hindu kingdoms and regional dynasties. This hospitality is an undeniable truth of history. Over time, trust was built between communities, relationships developed, interactions increased. Many people embraced Islam through dialogue, ethics, and spiritual influence, not through coercion. However, history also demands courage to accept uncomfortable truths. Over time, humility gave way to ambition, power replaced gratitude, trust was gradually betrayed. Political dominance was pursued without consent. Kingdoms were established and authority was asserted. The formation of Muslim ruled states, including the Delhi Sultanate, came to a moral cost. If asked today, I say this clearly and without hesitation. Betraying the trust of those who offered shelter and dignity was wrong. A civilization cannot grow strong on the foundation of betrayal. A faith cannot claim morality without moral authority if its followers abandon ethical responsibility. This internal weakening created an opening for foreign domination. The British did not conquer India solely through military strengths. They succeeded because they exploited existing divisions. Their strategy of divide and rule was deliberate and systematic. They turned communities against each other, manipulated religious identities, looted economic resources, dismantled indigenous institutions, and reduced one of the world's oldest civilizations to a colony. The consequences of colonial rule was devastating. Wealth was drained, education systems were distorted, social harmony was fractured, and when the British finally left, they left behind a scar that still bleeds, which is partition. Partition was one of the most painful chapters in our history. It divided families, displaced millions, and caused immense suffering. India emerged as a Hindu majority nation while Pakistan and later Bangladesh emerged as a Muslim majority nations. These decisions were shaped by fear, mistrust, and political calculations. Many Muslims chose to remain in India. They trusted the promise of democracy, secularism, and constitutional equality. India honored that trust. Despite being a Hindu majority country, India chose a path of inclusion rather than revenge. Minority rights were protected, citizenship was not defined by religion. This decision reflected moral courage and civilizational confidence. As Muslims who chose to stay in India, we must acknowledge this truth with humility and gratitude. Our continued presence here is not an act of tolerance alone, it is an act of constitutional commitment by the Indian state and its people. This must never be taken lightly. In a democracy, minorities do not thrive through dominance or confrontation, they thrive through responsibility, contribution, and respect for the social fabric. Unfortunately, over time, arrogance crept into parts of the community. Entitlement replaced gratitude. Confrontation replaced coexistence. This reality must be acknowledged honestly if healing is to occur. What we see today in India is not sudden or mysterious. It is the result of historic choices, accumulated grievances, and repeated failures to address internal reform. Blaming one group alone will not solve the problem. Self reflection is essential. At the same time, India today faces challenges beyond its borders. Our neighborhood is unstable. Bangladesh is struggling with internal violence and minority persecution. Pakistan faces political and economic collapse. Nepal experiences political volatility. Sri Lanka has suffered economic disaster. Afghanistan remains fractured. These crises are not isolated, they are interconnected and often influenced by external powers seeking instability in this region. India must not fall into these traps. We must remember that chaos in our neighborhood eventually reaches our doorstep. Provocation must be met with patience, aggression must be countered with wisdom. India should aspire to be like Switzerland during World War II, neutral, stable, internally strong, and focused on national development. Switzerland did not survive by choosing sides, it survived by choosing stability. India too must prioritize peace, growth, and internal cohesion. Our message to the world should be firm and clear. India seeks cooperation, not conflict. India seeks prosperity, not provocation. India seeks leadership through example, not dominance. I purpose a broader regional vision, a concept I call UNSEA, UNSEA, Unity of Nations of Southeast Asia. This is not meant to replace existing international institutions but to complement them morally and regionally. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Afghanistan, and others share geography, history, and destiny. Our future prosperity depends on cooperation, not confrontation. Even China must be engaged constructively. We must seek technological collaboration, economic growth, and innovation. At the same time, we must not abandon humanitarian values. Progress and morality must walk together. Strength without compassion creates resentment, not respect. Asia must stay united. This is not Europe's war. The conflict in Ukraine is a European crisis with global consequences. But Asian nations must not be dragged into unnecessary confrontation. Our focus must remain on education, healthcare, infrastructure, innovation, and human development. At the deepest level, all these conflicts forget one simple truth. We are all human beings. We share the same blood color, the same biological structure, and the same origin. No religion, no race, no nation is superior. Humanity began as one and it can only survive as one. Every major faith teaches coexistence. Hinduism speaks of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world as a one family. Islam speak of mercy and justice. Christianity speak of love and compassion. Sikhism speak of equality. Buddhism speak of peace. Judaism speaks of ethical responsibility. Division is not divine, it is human made. To my fellow Muslims, I speak with sincerity and responsibility. Islam is not anger. Islam is not arrogance. Islam is discipline, knowledge, ethics, and peace. Before reacting emotionally, we must educate ourselves. Before accusing others, we must correct ourselves. Before demanding rights, we must fulfill responsibilities. Our ancestors came to India with peace and dignity. We must honor their legacy. India was not originally a Muslim majority land. We were welcomed as guests and citizens from outside. Betraying that trust dishonors not only India but Islam itself. To all Indians, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Jain, Buddhists, and others, I urge restraint, wisdom, and unity. The tactics of divide and rule did not end with colonialism, they have simply changed forms. Social media, misinformation, and political manipulation now play the same role. We must not fall for them again. Unity is strength. A single stick breaks easily, but a bundle cannot be broken. When we stand together, no external force can weaken us. If united, India has the potential to become a $10 trillion economy, even $20 trillion economy, not as divided communities but as one nation, not through hatred but through cooperation. I also wish to speak about humanitarian concerns beyond our borders. The situation of Uyghur Muslims in China raises serious moral questions. Respect, Respectfully, I urge the Chinese leadership to allow religious freedom and dignity among Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang. Strength is not proven by control alone, but by compassion and justice. Closer to home, Kashmir requires urgent and sincere attention. Drug abuse, extremism, and social breakdown are destroying young lives. This is not only a political issue, it is a social, moral, and spiritual crisis. Leadership must rise above hypocrisy and address root causes with sincerity. True leadership serves the vulnerable, not personal agendas. Silence in times of suffering is not neutrality, it is neglect. In conclusion, every human being desires the same basic things: dignity, safety, opportunity, food, and respect. Division only benefits those who seek to weaken societies for their own gain. Today, on Republic Day and on my birthday, my only wish is unity, not forced unity but conscious unity, not silence but understanding, not fear but responsibility. Together we are strong. Together we are one. Thank you for listening with patience and respect. Missed, if I have missed anything or something, I welcome your thoughts and dialogue. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.